Let's begin with Madeline Rivera live from Washington with the latest on when we can expect this shutdown to officially end. Maddie, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. Well, the vote the Senate took overnight is the first step in a series of procedural maneuvers. And of course, the House will have to vote on the package, too. So it will take a few more days before the government reopens. But Sunday's vote was the first clear sign that a bipartisan deal had been reached after a roughly 40-day stalemate. The Senate voted 60-40 to back a revamped GOP funding bill that would keep the government open until the end of January. 8 Democrats joined Republicans to pass the bill, including Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin, Senators Tim Kaine, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Jackie Rosen, among others.
This is the beginning to show and fight for Americans across the country. Let me just say this. With the government open, we can focus on passing a full bipartisan budget for 2026.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. So let me be clear. No one in the Senate chamber wants to extend the ACA tax credits more than I do.
I joined this group to make sure that we could get important protections for federal employees. And what we have in this bill is the restoration of all the furloughed employees and a guarantee of their back pay.
So despite them touting what they did get, these Dems are facing criticism from their party because the package does not include a deal on Obamacare subsidies. It only includes a guarantee on a vote for the tax credits, far from what progressives and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer had pushed for.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward.
Okay, so pause Bernie here real quick. Looks like they're moving this along in this government shutdown. As they were saying, one of the big things that was holding it back was the Democratic Party wanted some type of they wanted some type of funding for the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and it seems like Republicans wasn't willing to give that. So at some point, you know, these 8 Democrats within their party with voting power, they made a compromise, as they should, because the disagreement between those two parties is causing millions of people to go hungry, causing major delays in travel, and they're causing government and federal employees not to be paid. So, you know, they definitely could work on some type of agreement down the line as far as the Affordable Care Act. And, you know, I didn't think it was worth this long. Just hoping that one side would buck for the other to try to get a deal done. And hopefully it goes through the House within the next couple of days. And hopefully like the week starting Thanksgiving, we can get the ball back rolling the way that it's supposed to. And the federal workers like the TSA agents, they'll be able to go back to work, feel comfortable going back to work, because, you know, at that point they should have gotten their back pay from the furlough, and, you know, get things back going again. But, you know, salute to those 8 Democrats who decided to go ahead and vote with the yay and not the nay, so that this thing doesn't get drawn out into a whole nother month. Because, yeah, people would definitely start revolting real bad if they, you know, go a whole nother month without being able to feed themselves, for one, and which was very, very uncalled for. And let's see what Bernie has to say here
On this continuing resolution, and to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. We got a lot of work to do, but to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night.
And see, it's people like Bernie Sanders talking about it was a bad vote. Like Bernie, I'm sure you have no problems feeding your family sure you have no problems getting a meal. I'm sure you have no problems traveling. So the problems of the people are not your problems. So of course you're gonna say it's a bad vote. Even the Affordable Care Act is like, sir, I'm sure you have a very comprehensive healthcare plan. So it's just like it's people that are not that can't it's people that cannot put themselves in the shoes of others who always try to hold stuff back. And it's these old oligarchs who are trying to hold stuff back, and it's just like, man, if you're not able to relate, then you shouldn't be speaking for the people, in my opinion. And like I said, Bernie Sanders is not out here waiting on SNAP benefits. And then, those are the type of people that trick people who do need those type of benefits, and they're voting for these type of people or putting these people in position of power, and all they doing is just trying to hold you back. And it's clear as day. You think Bernie Sanders is literally waiting on his food stamps to hit his card? No, he's not in y'all position. So that's what I'm saying. We have to start opening up our minds and not really be following behind these type of people who are not living the same type of lives that you are. And that's just how I feel about it. Let's see what they're saying. Schumer, about Senator Schumer here.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna is already targeting Schumer, saying Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop health care premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? Moving forward, senators need to reach a time agreement before holding a final vote on the package. Then it will only need a simple majority to pass the upper chamber. Todd.
Miles to go before we sleep. Maddie, thank you. With that, let us bring in former advisor to Donald Trump, Jason Miller. And Jason, you heard in Maddie's report the Democrats touting all of the things that they got. But to me, they didn't really get anything. All they got was a promise to hold a vote on Obamacare subsidies. So, Jason, what was the point of all this?
Well, exactly. There was no point. This entire shutdown was unnecessary. It was unneeded. And the only reason why it happened is because Senator Chuck Schumer and other Senate Democrats are scared to death at the extremist wing of their party, the AOCs, and they're worried they're going to get primary challenges. I really think that there's going to be a reckoning here, both from Americans, travelers who are stranded at airports or had flights canceled, members of the military who had to stand in line for food banks because they didn't have money coming in because of what the Senate Democrats did. And also, I think there'll be a reckoning, as we saw from Ro Khanna saying this about Senator Schumer, from the extremist left within the Democrat base saying, Chuck Schumer, why did you cave? So this was completely unnecessary. It was unneeded all along. Senator John Thune said, just simply pass the continuing resolution, open government, then we can talk about health care. But instead, Chuck Schumer decided to hold everybody hostage.
Again, the exact same continuing resolution that everybody voted for back in March. Nothing changed except for the primaries from the left.
Today marks day 41 of the government shutdown. But after nearly 6 weeks, lawmakers finally took the first step to ending the stalemate yesterday, after a number of Senate Democrats backed a Republican funding bill to reopen the government until the end of January. In a 60-40 vote, a group of moderate Democrats broke from their party and voted with Republicans on legislation that funds the government and holds a later vote on extending Affordable Care Act tax credits that expire January 1st. If it sounds familiar, it's because it's what Senate Majority Leader Thune floated to me just 3 weeks ago, how it could end. Anyway, this deal includes a mini package of appropriations bills that funds military construction, Veterans Affairs, the Department of Agriculture, and the legislative branch, as well as a stopgap funding measure that ensures the full government remains open until at least the end of January of next year. The bill also includes language to undo federal layoffs imposed by the Trump administration during the shutdown, which began, of course, on October 1st. This agreement does not, though, guarantee health care subsidies will be extended, as Democrats have demanded for the entirety of this shutdown. And that's angered many of them, who say Americans want them to continue to fight for something substantial. Some of the senators that voted with Republicans, though, spoke out about their decision last night.
We were in a situation where SNAP recipients were suffering, and there was no guarantee we would ever get to an ACA solution. Now we've got robust SNAP funding and a guaranteed vote, not a guaranteed outcome, but a guaranteed vote on ACA tax credits.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. It would only mean more harm for families in New Hampshire and all across the country.
So yeah, at least they were smart enough to see like, okay, we're not going to get them to agree at this moment, but we at least get a vote here on the tax credit for the Affordable Care Act. And now SNAP benefit recipients are not going to have to keep suffering and be worried and stressed about if they're going to eat or not, which is way more important. Like I was saying, it's a lot of extremists in both parties, but specifically like on the Democrat side, like it's a lot of people who, man, like I said, they don't live the same lives that you guys live. Many people in America, they don't live those same lives. They are not worried about their next meal at all. And it's only the ones that have to worry about their next meal that's going to be affected by the decisions that, these people in the Senate and these people in the House are making. So, I mean, that's just government in a nutshell. And in my opinion, outside of SNAP benefits, the military and our defense is one of the biggest things that we should make sure is funded, along with government workers, because without our military, we are nothing. Our military is the reason why we are a world superpower. Our military is the reason why we are all safe, why we haven't been invaded by other countries, and why we will continue to be that superpower because of how strong and how advanced our military is. And just that's one of the things that we have to make sure we keep as a priority, because we don't never want to lose our ability to call ourselves a superpower. Because there's a lot of people who, of course, hate America and hate Americans, and they'll go to no end to see us harm or do harm. And it may not happen in my generation, but it could happen in generations that come after us. So um, to me, military is really the top priority, along with making sure benefits get to people who are in need of them. And I hope everyone learned something from this shutdown. It's not really blaming back and forth. It's just that you have to realize at some point you have to come to a compromise to get a deal done. But if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. This is Justin Paul. Peace.